This
taking
conference will now be recorded.
first 10 minutes I'll be taking out for any question, answers, any doubts, and then we'll go on. So let's wait for 1 more minute, then we'll start the class.
Sir, till then, can I share my screen? I have one question.
Yeah, sure. Making you present it. Yeah, share your screen.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So when I'm
Tell
clicking
me.
on login,
Mhm.
So actually, I'm facing the same.
sir, I'm getting this error.
So is this login created?
Yes, sir.
Can you show me?
Sir, here it is there. New user, new M1, and in
So it's
database
it's
tab.
user. It's user, not login. So as I said, we have two layer of security. One is database layer, the other one is instance layer. So you have created new user to access database and you are
Okay,
trying
sir.
to log into the instance, right? So to log
Yes,
into the
sir.
instance, you need to create a login, not a user.
Okay,
Okay.
sir. So can you please tell me how to proceed?
Yeah, I'll show. Mm, let me share my screen. Is my screen visible, guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So as I said, we have two layers. Connect to instance needs login. Connect to database needs user. Okay. Now what we are trying to do now? We are trying to log in to the instance. So for that we need to create a login, not a user. So this is my user. Sorry, this is my instance. Add the instance security. Okay, not database security. Okay. So database also have a security folder. We are not talking about that. We are talking about instance security. We are trying to log into the instance, right? So under instance, we have a security folder. There we have a login folder. And if you notice, under database, we have security folder. If we expand that, we have a user folder. So the difference between this user and this login, you need to understand. So login is to connect to the instance, as I said, and under database, we have security and we have user under security. So user is to connect to the database. Okay. So can we connect to a database without connecting to the instance?
No, sir.
No, no.
So First,
First,
we
you
need to
have to
connect to
create
the
a
instance.
login to instant
So
security.
first we need to create a login. So let's remove this. So let's create a new login. What is the name?
Test
Right.
SQL Server.
For the
Get
authentication, so let's say the password is 12345. 12345. Okay. The server role is public. So I can connect to the server, or Syed can connect to the server. So the role to the instance. Role means what the login can do. Once you log into the instance using that login name, what you can do, that will be defined by this server role options. So if you check on these options, your role would be assigned. Okay. For this option, you can only connect to the instance. That's it. You cannot do anything else. If you have bulk admin, you can do bulk operation. If you have DB creator role, you can create database. If you have disk admin, you can work on disk. If you have process admin, you can create new process. If you have security admin, you can create new logins for other persons, right? If you have server admin, you can change the server level parameters of the instance. If you have setup admin, you can do setup level changes. If you have security admin privilege, sysadmin privileges, you can do everything on the instance. So this is the highest privilege for any login. Okay. For now, I have selected the default on one only. Only you can connect to the instance, nothing else. Under user mapping, this is very important. So this user mapping actually refers this user. Okay. So under login creation page, so here we are opening the login creation page. Okay. So in general, I have given the login name, the password. Under server roles, I have given the permission at server level or instance level. Now under user mapping, here we have the permission at database level. Okay. As I said, for database level permission, we need user, right? So this user mapping will be helping you to map the login to a particular database user. Let's say I want to create a user for class 4 database. Okay. So see, the login name was Syed and the respective user Syed got created under this database. Okay. As I mapped or selected this database. Now this database, this user will be having access on the database. Now this is database level access. Server role was instance level access. That means the login can do what type of work at instance level. That will be defined in server role. Now the login got a mapped user. As I selected this database, the mapped user got created for this database. Now this user can do what at database level? That we can select here. So public means the user can only connect to the database. Now let's say I want to give it DB owner as well. So the user, the mapped user can do whatever he want in this database. So I have given DB owner. So he is the owner of the database, right? So let's click on OK. So what will happen? We'll be having a login at instance level. The login name would be Syed, right? Now I have mapped a database user against the login, right? So at database level also, I'll be having a new user. The name would be Syed. And the user will be created on which database? Class 4 database. Let's check it first. So under security, instance security, we have the login folder. Here we have a login called site. Now under database, class 4, we should be having a user also under class 4, site, right? So we have a login as well as we have a user. Now let's see if the login can connect to the instance. Password was 12345. Let's connect. Got connected. Now can the login access AdventureWorks database?
No, no,
Yes or no? Why?
no, because you
Yeah, yeah,
haven't
yeah.
given that
No, permission
authentication.
is only
Yes.
for us.
Because there is no user called site for the AdventureWorks database. So if the login is trying to access AdventureWorks database, that means the login will try to search for a mapped user to access the database, right? But it won't be able to get the mapped user for the database. So AdventureWorks is unable to access. Can we access class 4 database?
Yes, we can.
Because class 4 database is having a mapped user, right? So for this
Hmm.
login, I have a mapped user in class 4. That is why I can access class 4. Let's see. Yes,
Sir,
I can access class 4 database.
I'm getting the login, sir, but still I'm unable to log in.
Okay, let me see it.
Debabrita, I
Aryan?
am facing the same issue. I have tried this before also.
Okay, okay. I'll check. So
Oh,
let's start with Aryan then. Aryan, I'm making a presenter.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, share your screen.
Sir, inside security folders, there
Hmm.
is a login, new M1. So,
So what is the password for new M1?
sir, 12345.
Are you sure?
Sir, should I create again?
No. Reset the password for new M1. Click on OK. Cancel it to this box. Right click on the login new M1. Screen got freezed. Yeah. Right click. Go to properties. Now reset the password and uncheck this option, enforce password policy, because you're not giving a strong password, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now click on OK. Hold on. Let me see the error. Click on OK. Let me see the error. Hmm. Okay. So you have done a mistake when you have created the login for the first time. You have enabled the password policy and you have given a you know loose password or a weak password. So you have to drop the login and create it again. Drop the login, cancel it, drop the login and create it from the beginning. Create the login.
Can I click on OK?
Yes. You have to give the username. Sorry, you have to give the login name.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now connect. Mm, Test. Click on OK. You have given the password 12345, right?
Yes, sir.
Give it one more time. Okay. Let's go to the properties. Go to status. Go to status. Grant enabled. Okay. Click on server roles. Okay. Seems good. Cancel it. Right click on the instance. Go to properties. Now go to security. Here you have only Windows authentication mode selected. You need to
Okay, sir.
check SQL Server and Windows authentication mode. So check that. Yes. Click on OK. So do you hold on. So do you guys understand what just happened right now?
Yes, sir. I already did these things. Means yesterday while doing the assignment, I did this thing. Then after that, I'm getting over.
All right. So click on OK. So what was the pop-up? The pop-up was saying you need to restart your service. Only then the change will reflect in your server. So you need to
Yes, sir.
open SQL Server Configuration Manager, restart your SQL service, and then
Sir,
only
should
Even
you
I
can
close
try to
this?
do it.
you can restart from here only, Aryan SQL by clicking
No,
left.
no. This is not the standard way to do it. You need
Sir,
to
should I
open
close it?
Configuration Manager. Yeah, you can close it. Open SQL Server Configuration Manager under Microsoft SQL Server 2022. Now SQL Server Service, right click, the first one, right click, and no. In the right hand side. In the right hand side, you have three services, right? Yeah. Now
Yes,
click
sir.
on restart. Hold on. It will take some time to do the restart. Service
Yes, sir. Done.
restarted. Now open SQL Server Management Studio.
Sir, should I close this?
Yeah, you can close this. Now try to connect with a new user.
Yes, sir.
All right. So
Yes.
the reason for it didn't work is the authentication mode was only Windows authentication mode selected in the instance level. So you need to change it
Oh,
to Windows and SQL authentication level. Then you need to restart your SQL service. Then only you can create SQL Server users. All right.
yes, sir.
So I hope that will resolve the issue for others as well. Okay. All right, guys. So let's start with today's class, and we'll be having a Q&A session at the end of the class as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Excuse me.
let's.
Sayed this side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
actually, with that scenario based question, can you do it here? Actually, that time I was not able to create that scenario based question. New member to the team provide him her the right level of access. Login name new member 1 2 3. Whereas new member 1 no access to other data demo database only, and
But I
member
do
2
have
all.
some doubts, questions regarding the login properties. So,
Login properties. Okay. What is
yeah,
the doubt?
like there were a few questions. Now we had to give full access to some of the users. Like new member, we had to give full access. So in properties, there are few columns such as deny data writer. Then there are few options which has deny in it. So do we need to click that too, or should we avoid doing that? Like
Great.
when I'm going in login properties,
I'm showing it. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yeah.
there are
Yes, sir.
few properties in user mapping which has these options called data db denied data reader, db denied data writer. When we are giving
Yeah.
full
I'm
access,
coming to that. I'm explaining that. Hold on. Hold on.
okay.
So you're talking about these options, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
these options. The one which has
All
deny
right.
in it. When we are giving full access, should we click
Got it. Got
every
it.
all
Got it.
of them or?
Got it. Got it. Let me explain. So when we are clicking on this database, a respective user got created. Now the user will be having which type of access? By default, we are having public. Okay. Now, if we are assigning DB security admin, what will happen? This
Full access.
will allow the user to create other users on the database. Okay. If we enable this option, what will happen? This user will be the owner of the database. Whatever he wants to do, he can do on the database. If we click on this DB deny data writer, then the user cannot write anything on the database. The meaning is the user can read from the database, but the user cannot write anything on the database. If we select this option, DB deny data reader, what is the meaning? The user can write to the database, but the user cannot read anything from the database. If we select DB DDL admin, that means the
Hello.
user can run DDL
Now,
commands. Okay, so the user can run DDL commands on the database. If we select this option, DB data writer, the user can only write to the database. DB data reader, the user can only read from the database. DB backup operator, the user can only take backup of the database. DB access admin, the user can provide access to other users for this particular database. So these database level roles are there for this particular user. So that
So
depends
what
on
is the difference?
what.
So
Yeah,
when we are
tell me.
giving full access, shall we click all the columns or should we avoid that deny options?
If we are giving full access, we just need to select DB owner. That's it.
That will be enough. And these two
That will
options,
be
the one you told, DB deny data writer and DB data reader. So these two options, are these two options similar?
No,
Because the things which
deny
you told in
deny deny data reader means
data
the
writer means
user.
the person cannot write, he can just read. And the same thing we are doing
Yes,
in data reader too. So are
yeah.
these
So
both options similar?
if you are giving this DB data reader and you are also enabling DB deny data reader, so what will
Okay.
happen? If we choose the contradictory options here, then deny will take the precedence. That means the user cannot read the data.
Okay.
So access is less prioritized than deny. So if we deny the access, then it cannot access. That means if we enable data reader and if we enable deny data reader, then deny data reader will take the action. So the user cannot read the data at the outcome.
So I have
At
one
the
more doubt. Suppose I
in
want
the
to give
same
access to some.
in the same way, if we choose deny DB data writer and deny data writer, then deny data writer will take the precedence. So the user cannot write to the database. Yeah, tell me.
So I'm clicking. If I'm clicking on these two options, the data reader and DB deny data writer. So these two options will work together, right?
Yes,
Means
this is about
deny data
accessing
writer and
data.
DB data reader. That means the person can just read, but he cannot write any data or make changes in the data, right?
Exactly, exactly,
These
exactly.
two options will be the base suitable for read only option, right? Means when
Yes,
we are giving just an access to read. So are these both
yes.
required, or we can just click one of them? It will be enough.
No, no, we need to, if you need to only provide read access,
Yeah.
you need to enable this. So this will
Okay.
allow only to read the data. It will
Okay.
not allow to write the data, right?
And these two options are almost similar, I guess.
Yeah, so you don't need to enable deny writer option one more time. So if
Okay.
the user can only read the data, this option is enough.
Okay. Sir. Thank you.
So anyone else has any questions on this?
Yeah. I have one question.
Tell me.
Yeah, at last line, they pointed out that you have to send the file in the SQL format, right? .SQL. So if we can save that file in SQL format, then login will be saved as like that, or something will change.
I didn't get your question. Can you come again?
Yeah, actually, I'm just saying that if we save that file in the .SQL, so login will
Mhm.
be there or not?
No, no, no. Let's say you want to save this file as .sql. So this file
Yeah.
would be saved like a normal text file. Okay. That means
Okay.
whatever you have written here in the editor, that would be saved in a file. And for database, SQL database, the extension will be .sql, but that is like a text file only. Okay. So you need to
Okay.
connect to the instance.
Okay.
All right.
No, at last line they're saying that you have to that save that file in that SQL format and send to the on that mail ID. So,
Uh, Let me show you. So if I save this file, okay,
yeah, that I got it, but
let's say I
how
save,
we can
sorry,
So the
how we can
question
send
is
I
that
like
didn't get,
the changes we are making in that database, we cannot copy that thing and send it to you, na, while making assignments. So that was the problem even we were facing. So what we did, we took a screenshot of the things we have done and sent it to you.
that's absolutely fine, no issues.
Okay.
So I mean, you can take the screenshot and send across to skill enable. Okay. So you can do one more thing as well. You can, so I'll be validating, or skill enable will be validating the query, right? whatever query you are writing. Okay.
For practical second, I'm just sending the screenshot, but first one I just send the file. So I need to send that screenshot.
You
That's
can
that's
save.
fine. That's fine. No issues. So it's all about validating the query you have written. So you send it in SQL format or you send a screenshot, that I don't think that should matter much.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Have regarding this in the login credentials only. There's one option called securables. Now, sir, what is the concern of that? Do we need to do anything in that option to securables? Or we don't need to work on that?
Here the meaning is, what are the things we need to secure, right? So this is, we can keep it as default. We don't have to do anything. So this is basically minor level of privileges. Okay. So you
Oh,
can keep it as default and we can manage the permissions at server role and user mapping level.
okay.
All right. So uh, let's start with today's class. So today we are going to work on a real-time project. The project name is Library Management System. Okay. So here we are going to work on a problem. So let's say the idea is, so here the idea is we will get a problem statement. Guys, just give me one moment. Huh? I have an urgent call. I'll be back in one moment. All right, guys, I'm back. So here the project that we are going to work on is called as Library Management System. Okay. So in this project, we are going to go through different phases, like we will get a problem statement from the client. Okay. So here the client is library, right? Library management, right? So we are going to get a problem statement from the library management, and we are going to take requirements from the library admins to, correct, we are going to get the requirements from library admins. Next is design the database from the requirement. Next, create the relations between the tables. Next one is implement the design into a database. Then we have to add the features. What is the spelling of feature, guys? I'm very bad at spelling.
VATURES.
Alright. So add the features on the database. Okay, whatever features which is needed by the admin, that we need to add at the database level, right? After that, the application will be ready. All right. So this is the entire flow of our project. First, so is the flow clear to everyone? So this is our project flow. Is this flow clear to everyone?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So first, let me reiterate. First, we are going to get a problem statement from the client. Who is the client? The client is library management. So what is the problem statement? So first, we'll get the problem statement from the client. The client is library management. Okay. So we know about library, right? Library generally keep different books, and they rent book to the members of the library, right? So then after we take the problem statement, we'll take the requirements from the library admins. Library admins means who are running the library, the librarian, right? So we are going to take the requirement. What are the features they need? What are the different modules they are having, right? So we are going to take all the requirements from the admins or library admins. Then we are going to design the database based on the requirement. Then we are going to, so when we say we are going to design the database, that means we are going to define different type of sections, or we are going to group the requirements. Then after that, we are going to create the relation between the groups or between the tables. Then we are going to implement everything on the database level. And then we are going to add different features at the database level. Okay. So then the application would be ready. What is our problem statement here? Please create a solution to manage our library. this is the problem statement. So till now, it was a offline management, right? Now the management wants to create a database solution to manage the library. That is the requirement, or that is the problem statement. Now, what are the requirements? The requirements could be it must have uh, it should hold books, book details, member details. It should hold subject details. It
Writer.
should hold the grade
Writer.
of the members, right? All these things. Now, manage our library. Here we need to understand one thing. It is a college library. Okay. It is a college library, and that we need to give a solution from offline to give a database solution so that the library can be managed and more efficiently, right? So this is our problem statement. The library management system is a computer-based application used to automate a library. Okay, so whatever we or the librarian write it down, we need to automate it. It allows the librarian to maintain the information about the books, magazines, other library materials. It also allows the librarian to maintain and organize the information about the borrowers. Okay. The project should be focusing on automation of the system process, like adding new acquired books, like someone is borrowing a book that should be managed by the solution. The borrower's information, the book has been returned or not, how much the penalty on a member if the book is not returned in the due date, right? Searching the location of a book, printing the inventory of book, etc. Okay, so these are the features that the application should be able to manage. All right, so here is the process flow. Problem statement, requirement gathering, design, database table structure, table relations, table creation, relation creation, data population, and feature addition. Okay. Now, what are the tables that we need to provide the solution? So, what could be the tables according to you guys?
ID name,
No.
branch wise,
The
and
name
List
of
of
books,
books.
name of
list of
books.
So,
Yes, yes.
name of books,
so first,
Book
name of
detail,
first,
student detail.
book
Then
details.
list of
so we need
then list
we need
of
to go one by one.
members.
We need to go one by one. Okay. What comes first to your mind?
Book
A
detail.
Book details.
library hold books, but before books, we should be concerned about subjects, right? So a library cannot hold all the possible books. If someone comes to the library and say like, what are the books available for maths? So you need a table which will hold that the subject that is scattered by the library. A library cannot hold every possible subject, right? So first of all, we need to
Yes.
secure a table which will hold the subject details. So subject should be there. Then what? After subject, we should be having a table to hold the book details. What are the books that is present, right? Now, after that, what comes to your mind? A member
Members
coming to the library, we should understand what is the grade of the member. The meaning is a,
like the
a
eligibility.
member a member from class 4 can come and borrow a book. A member from PhD can come and borrow a book. So their recommendation of books would be different depending on their grade, right? So there should be a grade for each member. Yes or no?
Yes.
So after that, there should be a table for member details as well, which will be holding the member details. So these four details are the pillar of this design, right? So if you think of a library, these four details are the most basic details that we need. All right, so let's try to design the table now. What would be the columns for subject table?
Uh,
Subject ID, subject name.
Subject
uh,
ID, subject name. Anything else? Nothing as such,
Yeah,
right?
So
then
subject
what
So
about
authors
let's,
too, I think.
the grades
Oh
then,
no,
like
no.
standard
It was in
for
book
the?
also.
so that would be under
Maybe
grade.
create a
Okay.
relation between subjects and book.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yes. So let's take the table structure for book. What could be the columns?
Book
book
ID,
ID,
SID,
ID,
ID,
subject ID, book name,
a subject ID.
subject ID,
Author.
author name.
author name, serial number, or book ID is enough. All right. So publisher,
Addition, sir.
sorry,
Addition.
Those all are
Addition, sir.
extra.
Addition.
edition. Yeah, edition could be
Also.
there. Number of copies which is available in
Yes,
the
sir.
library, right? So let's think about grade table. What are the columns a grade can have?
Undergraduate, maybe.
First would be grade ID
student ID,
and type of
Grade
grade
name.
or grade type. So grade is like it could be computer science, it could be maths, it could be physics, or it could be like class 4, class 5, class 10, graduation, post graduation, and so on, right? So what next? Member. That means the members of the library. What could be the columns? The
Professor,
member ID,
lecturer,
Under
Member
ID.
ID,
student.
member name,
member name,
mem-
Book
member
borrowed.
age,
Book.
the grade of what else?
Book ID,
Member's address,
mobile number,
member's contact, anything else?
Member session.
Hmm?
I think member session too.
Member type, sir.
Session,
Session
member
from
type, no, session would be used to what?
Sir, member type.
So member type can be defined using grade. So this grade table, we are going to use it for different categorization. So let's say instead of grade, we'll call it as department, because the consideration is it is a college library, right? So in college library, we can categorize the members as different department, right? Like in the college, there could be different department. Let's say maths, physics, chemistry, computer science, arts, commerce, a different type, right? So let's call it department. So in this department table, we can have different type included as well, so that we can manage using department. All right. So now as we are done with the initial foundation, now how we can manage when someone borrow a book. When
But
someone is borrowing a book, how we can manage it? So there should be a table,
Yes.
uh,
For book.
Book
For
borrower.
which will be holding all the details about borrowing a book. So what would be the columns for book borrow table?
issue date.
Book name.
book ID.
Book ID.
ID.
So first of
Book.
all, book borrow ID,
Action.
Book
Book
and
borrower
name.
name.
someone is
Subject
Issue
ID.
date.
borrowing a book. So someone is borrowing a book. There should be a
Name.
transaction ID, right? What
Mm.
next?
Yes.
Borrowed the book.
Name.
Book
Book
borrow name.
name.
Who borrowed the book?
Member
That
ID.
we can get from
Member ID.
member table, right? So who
Yeah.
Hmm.
borrowed the book? A particular
Okay.
member ID borrowed the book.
Uh,
Which
Member
book
ID.
has been borrowed?
uh,
Which book has been borrowed?
ID.
Book
Book
ID.
ID,
Book ID.
What else?
Which
subject ID,
department? Department.
When it was borrowed.
Subject.
Borrowed it.
which subject, which subject he borrowed.
Issue date.
Borrowed date and
Subject.
due date.
Subject would be mapped from book ID and subject ID. So we don't have to hold subject here. We have book ID, right? Book ID have subject ID, and subject ID have the subject name. So borrow date we need.
Borrow date.
Due date.
What else?
Due
Due date.
date.
Due date.
Hmm.
Be fine.
What else?
Submit date.
Return status,
Returns. Hmm.
right? So these details that are mostly required to design our solution. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So is it clear, right? Now let's understand about, so this part is done. Now create relation between the tables. We need to relate the tables. So these two tables are related to each other.
Yes.
So subject is having relation with book table
Hmm.
using which column? Which
Uh,
column is relating these two tables?
Subject
SQL.
ID.
Subject
Subject
ID.
ID.
So using subject ID, right? So book table is having subject ID. So using subject ID, both the tables are having the relation. So member and department table having relation with each other. So
There will
department
be
is having a relation with member, right? Using which column?
uh, yeah.
Department
The
ID,
DID.
right? So using DID. What next? Book borrowed.
Borrow.
Borrow table is having relation with
With
which table?
subject, subject
Member.
and department.
subject and department.
Member
And member also.
and book.
Okay. Uh,
Okay. So book borrow table is having relation with member and book. Why? Book borrow table is holding member ID as well as book ID. So if someone is borrowing a book, that details must include which member borrowed the book and which book has been borrowed, right? So member and book. These two tables are related with book borrow table. Using which columns? So with member table, it's linked with member ID. With book table, it is linked using book ID.
Book ID.
So this is the relation between the tables. Is it clear?
Yes,
So
clear.
this step is done. So let's see this in a pictorial form. So here it is. Table diagram. We have a subject table, subject ID, subject name, subject description. We have a grade table or department table, ID or department ID and department name. We have a table called book table. In book table, we have many columns and the book is having relation with subject table. Next, we have borrower table or member table, right? Member or borrower table. This table is having relation with grade or department table. Now, both these two table is having relation with book borrowed table. Book ID is being referred here and borrower ID is being referred here. So is this diagram clear to everyone? This is called
Yes,
as
clear.
ER diagram, entity relationship diagram. Any questions from anyone about the database design?
No, sir.
All right. So now we are done with this phase. Now we need to implement the design in a database level, right? So when we need to implement this, we need to do what? We need to create tables. So first table we are going to create is, so first of all, we need to create a database called LMS, right? So let's call it LMS. LMS underscore today's date, 2023 02 13. Database created. All right. Now we need to create the tables. What is the first table? First table we are creating is subject. Syntax is create table subject, subject ID integer not null, subject name varchar null. So we can put subject name as not null as well. So subject name we also need, right? Subject name cannot be null. So subject name not null. So we are adding the constraint primary key on subject ID. So this is for creating the subject table. Let's create it. Next is what? Department table. Department table is holding what? Department ID and department name. And we have
Devabrat,
department. Yeah, tell me.
sorry to interrupt. Actually, are we supposed to do it together or? Uh,
No. I'll be providing all the scripts. So focus on the
Learning.
discussion here.
okay.
You guys can
Okay.
do the practice later on using the script. I'll be providing the entire script. Okay.
Okay. Fine.
All right. So now we are creating a table called department. So department ID, department name, and we are making department ID as primary key. So let's create the table. So here we have subject table and department table created, right? Now let's remove it. And next we are going to create book details table. The book details table is holding book ID, book name, author name, book serial number, subject ID, publisher, price, etc. And we have the constraint primary key of book ID. So let's create it. Now we need to create the relation between book details table and subject table, right? So we are creating a foreign key between book details table and subject table on subject ID. Let's create the foreign key. Done. So we are done on this part. Subject table created, book table created, the relation established between book table and subject table. We also have department table created. Now we'll create the borrower table, and then we'll create the relation between department and borrower. So here is the script to create borrower table. Create table book borrower details, borrower ID, borrower name, borrower contact, department ID. So the borrower belongs to which department in this college, right? So department ID, address. All right. So borrower ID is the primary key. So let's create the table. Done. Now we are creating the foreign key to create the relation between department table and borrower table using department ID. So let's create the relation. So now we have created borrower table, the department table was there, and we have created the foreign key to create the relation between both the tables. So we are done till this part. All right. Now we need to create the table book borrower or book borrowed, right? So let's do that. The table name is book borrowed. Book borrowed table is having book borrowed ID, which book has been borrowed, book ID, which borrower borrowed this book, borrower ID, borrowed on which date the book has been borrowed, what is the due date, the number of copies that has been borrowed, what is the return status, and the primary key is book borrowed ID. So let's create the table. Done. Now this table has relation with two of the tables. One is book table, one is borrower table. So we have to create the relation with both the tables. The first relation with book borrow table relation with book details table on book ID. That means this relation, book borrow table with book table, right? So let's create the relation. Next one is book borrow table with borrower details table using borrower ID. That means this table relating with borrower table using borrower ID, right? So let's create the relation. Done. So our table structure is created. Let's understand the table structure now. So we have department table, subject table. We have book details table, borrower details table. So borrower details table, if you see the keys, we have a foreign key that is referring department table, right? So this department table is a foreign key. If you see the book details table, we have a foreign key that is referring subject table. Subject ID is referring subject table, so subject ID is the foreign key. And book borrow table, we have two foreign key. One is referring book details table using book ID. The other one is referring borrower details table using borrower ID. So you can see book ID and borrower ID both are foreign key. Book ID is foreign key with book details table, borrower ID is foreign key with borrower details table. So this is my entire table structure of the database. Is it clear to everyone? Are we clear till this point?
Yes, sir.
So we have done this part. Implement the design into database, right? Now, or if we go here, we are done till this point, right? Now we need to do the data population. So I've populated the tables, okay? So for now, the table is blank, right? So if you select the table, select star from, let's say subject is blank. Every table is blank, right? So for that, I have a database where the structure is exactly the same, but I have populated the table with some data. So let's see. So I have changed the database to LMS project. So subject table is having all these subjects: computer fundamentals, computer software, computer hardware, physics basics, physics advanced, chemistry basics, chemistry advanced, maths basics, maths advanced, biology basics, biology advanced, and general knowledge. So all these subjects are available in the library. So let's see the department details. What are the department available? So we have different department in the college like CS, computer science, physics, chemistry, math, biology. Library admin. So what is this department? So this could happen that a library member who is actually a librarian. This is possible. So someone who is a
Yes, yes.
member, he is also a librarian or he is a worker in the library, right? He is a part of library admin group. So this is also possible. That is why we have added a department called library admin. And we have another department called others. Why? To cater other members except the students and the librarian. What could be the other members? College staff,
Professors.
right? College staffs. I'm very bad at spelling, man. All right. So these are different departments. So let's see the book details table now. The book details table is having all the book that is available in the library. So book ID 1, book name analog computation, author name Rajaraman, book serial number this, subject ID is this, okay, publisher is this, price is this. So that goes to for every book here. So let's see about borrower details or what are the members. So we call it borrower details, right? So the borrowers are or members are borrower ID, borrower name, borrower contact, from which department they belong, and what is their address, right? So this is the borrower details. Now let's see about the book borrowed table. Which book has been borrowed by which borrower? So this is the book borrowed table. So this is book borrowed ID, this is book ID, this is borrower ID, this is borrowed on, this is due date, the number of copies, this is the return status. Okay. So this is the data of all the tables. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, This is the feature we need to add. What is the feature that we need to add? So this feature would be suggested by the librarian during the requirement gathering phase. So the librarian will ask for the feature they need in the solution, right? So the librarian asked you guys to create a report to see the book name, author name, and subject name and price. Okay. So the author want to see all the details of books. So book name, author name, subject name, and price. Then we need to write a query. For this query, we need what details? We need subject details. We need book details. If we run both the select statement, so we need book name. Book name can be found from book details table. Author name can be found from book details table. Subject name can be found from subject table. Price can be found from book details table. So please write down the query to get these details. So I'll give you 5 minutes to write down the query. The table structure is here. The requirement is here. You need to write down the query to generate the report. Is the requirement clear to everyone? The requirement is clear or not? Guys, I'm audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So is the requirement, so why it's taking so long to give a response? Is the requirement clear? That should be answer of uh,
Yeah. Clear.
yes or no.
Yes, sir.
If the
Yes, sir, clear.
requirement is not
Yeah,
clear, I'll
clear.
repeat. If the requirement
No,
is
no,
not
clear.
clear, then yeah. So please speed up the process. Huh? So please write down the query,
Just you can
get
repeat the last
the
one.
output. So this is the table structure. These two tables we need to get these data, right? So book name can be found from book details table. Author name can be found from book details table. Subject name can be found from subject table. Price can be found from book details table. So basically we need to perform join operation between both the tables, right? And we need to select these columns. So please write down the query and let me know once it's done. All right. So let me show you guys the solution. Okay. Anyone anyone got any luck to write down the query? Are you
Wait for
interested?
2 minutes.
For 3 minutes.
Wait for 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay. All right. I got two responses from Aryan and Ayush. Both of has pasted the right query. Let me show the query now. So to have this view, the query is this. This is the query. Select book name, author name, subject name, price from subject table. Inner join book details table on subject ID. Right. So book name I'll be getting from which table? Book table. Author name I'll be getting from book table. Subject name I'll be getting from subject table, and price I'll be getting from book table. So this is the query. Is it clear to everyone how we can solve this requirement using this query? Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Now the question is, how can we save this query to database, right? So we need to save the query, right? So we can save the query by saving this as a view. So if we run this command, okay, this query would be saved as this view name. So let's see. I have the view saved in the table. The view name is book report. So here is book report. So if I simply run the book report, select star from book report, then it will show me the respective details. Right? So is it clear how to generate the book report?
So could you repeat again?
So how we can save a select query in the database? So this query we cannot write for every time we want to execute, right? The librarian cannot write a query. So we need to save this query, right? We can save this select query by using a view. So create view name as our select statement. So this query would be saved under the view book report. So if we run the report or if we run the view, that will actually run the select statement from the view. Okay. So we are going to save this query as a view form in the database. All right, let's move on. This is our requirement. Create a report or view to see borrower name, borrower contact, borrower's department, and borrower's address. So what are the involved tables here? What are the tables that is involved? Department table and
Borrower
borrower
detail.
table,
Borrower details.
right? So what would be the query?
Query.
So let me execute these two select statements so that you can see the table structure. So please write down the query to see these details. These details we need in the report, right? So these details we need to extract from both of the tables by joining both the tables. So please write down the query and let me know. All right, I got a response from Aryan. Let's see the solution now. So this is the query. So we have performed a join operation between department and borrower details using department ID, and we have selected the borrower name, contact, department, and department name and address from the output. So this is the query. Okay, and how we can save the query? In a form of view, right? So we have saved this query under a view. So this is my view, borrower report. See, borrower report is saved under view. So if I want to see the report, I just need to run select star from borrower report. So is it clear to everyone?
Sir, is it okay? Like, if you will there be any problem when you execute? Like for the previous one, we gave as B, right? We have assigned B for some book. So if you use A, or like for assigning the value, if you use a different letter, is it okay?
That's okay. But the thing is, the existence or the scope of this letter is only within the query. So this query is unaware of what alias we have given to the other query. So you can give whatever you want. You can give it A, B, C, X, Y, Z, whatever you want. But my point is, the scope of this alias is limited only within the query, only within these 4 lines.
Okay, got it.
So is it clear about this requirement and how we solved this requirement, or how we generated this report for the librarian?
Yes, sir.
But clear, but we need to practice more.
Yes, that's a must. All right. Hmm. This is the next requirement. Create a report to see borrowed book details like book name, which book has been borrowed. We need to see these details. So the report would be about the borrowed book. Okay. So the details the librarian want to see is book name, borrower's contact, author name of the book, borrowed on, due date. Okay. So these details should be captured under the report. So the librarian want to see that which book has been borrowed, so that he can understand the current status of the library. So for this, what are the tables that are involved?
Book detail, mm,
Detail will
borrow,
be
but
getting,
borrow.
Book detail and borrower detail.
so we need book details, borrower details, and book borrowed, all 3 tables. Why? Because book name will be getting from book details table, borrower name will be getting from borrower details table, borrower contact will be getting from borrower details table, author name will be getting from book details table, borrowed on will be taking from book borrowed table, due date will be taking on book borrowed table. So we need to perform join operation on all these 3 tables. Is it clear, guys? Please write
Yes,
down
sir.
the query. Please write down the query to get the report.
कॉमन है। बुकटी फॉरवर्ड कॉमन है।
All right, let's see the solution now. So we need to join three tables, right? So book details table will be joined with book borrowed table using which column?
Book ID.
The book details and book borrowed is related using book ID table. So we have performed inner join between book details and book borrowed on book ID. Now on this data set, so this data set is having all the details between book details and book borrowed. On this data set, we are performing the join operation with borrower details table. So with borrower details table, we'll be joining using which column? Borrower ID, right? So book details, inner join, book borrowed on book ID, book details and borrower details and book borrowed got joined using borrower ID, where the return status is no. So if I run this command, I can see all the details where the book has been borrowed by this borrower and the return status is no, that is yet to be returned. So please check this query, because this query we are joining three tables, right? So please check the query and let me know for any questions.
So can you explain the inner join part?
So book borrowed table is having relation with book details table using which column? Book ID. Book borrowed table is having relation with book borrower details table on which column? Borrower ID. So book
Yes.
details and book borrowed table, these two table joined using book ID, and book borrowed table inner join borrower details table using borrower ID. So we are going to get a bigger data set containing book details, book borrowed and borrower details, all the columns, where return status will be getting from which table? Book borrowed, right? So where return status is no, that means the book has been borrowed and yet to be returned. So from this bigger data set, we are selecting the book name, borrower contact, author name, book borrowed on, and due date.
Sir, the order should be maintained like book details, then followed by book borrowed, then borrower details for the inner
No,
join to be correct.
nothing as such. We need to understand that we need to join the table with what? We can put borrower details at the very beginning, no issues. So we need to have the table between book details and book borrowed. These two tables are in inner join, right? So this table, inner join this table. So we have performed the inner join on this column. So once this join is done, we are getting a bigger data set where we are having all the columns from book details table and all the columns from book borrowed table. So the output of this inner join is basically a combination of this table and this table. So this data set is having borrower ID as well from book borrowed table, right? So if we consider this as a table or a bigger data set, with this data set we are performing inner join with borrower details table. So borrower details table is having borrower ID, same as this data set is also having borrower ID from book borrowed table, right? So with this data set, we have performed inner join with borrower details table on borrower ID. Is it clear?
Yes. Got it.
So let me show it to you one more time. if I run this, select star, okay, if I run this, we'll be getting a bigger data set where we have borrower ID, right? So with this data set, I'm performing inner join with borrower details table. So borrower details table is having borrower ID, and this data set is also having borrower ID. So we are performing the join operation between this data set and borrower details table using borrower ID. Is it clear? So after the entire join operation, we'll be getting the entire data set after combining all three tables. So book details table from this column to this column. This is basically book details table. Borrowed book borrowed table, this to this is book borrowed table, and borrower details table, this to this is borrower details table. So we are getting the entire data set combining all three tables. Is it clear, guys? From book ID to price, this is my book details table details. From book borrowed ID, book ID, borrower ID, borrowed on, due date, number of copies, return status. This is my borrowed table. And borrower ID, borrower name, borrower contact, department and address. This is my borrower details table. So once we perform inner join between all the tables, all the three tables, I'm getting the entire data set of combining all three tables. Is it clear?
Yes, clear.
Yes, yes.
Now, after this, we are selecting the required column that we need, right? And we are saving it in this view format, right? So if we want to see the report, we can simply run select star from view name. All right. So this is about reports. Now, what if what if someone wants to borrow a book? If someone wants to borrow a book, then what we need to do? We need to add an entry to the book borrowed table, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
If we need to write a procedure, right? So we need to write a procedure. Using this procedure, we'll be adding an entry to the book borrowed table because someone came to borrow a book. So we need to execute something, right? We need to execute the procedure using which we can add an entry to the book borrowed table. So what are the details we need? So whenever someone is borrowing a book, we need two details. One is the book name and the borrower name. Okay. So the procedure name is borrow new book. We are taking two parameters, book name, borrower name. So this is input parameter. Now as begin is the starting block, end is the ending block. Let's see. Declare book ID integer. So I'm declaring a variable called book ID because in book borrow table, what are the columns I'm having? Book ID, borrower ID, and all other details, right? And I'm taking book name and borrower name as input. So I need to get the respective book ID and borrower ID. To hold the details, we need to have some variables. So I have book ID, borrower ID, and book borrowed ID. Book borrowed ID is the ID for book borrowed table. Now, I am assigning the book borrowed ID with the maximum value of book borrowed ID. Whatever book borrowed ID I have in book borrowed table, I'm adding 1 with it, with the maximum value. So maximum value I'm getting using max aggregate function. So let me show you. Select from book borrowed. So I have book borrowed ID, book ID, and borrowed ID. So book ID, this is the variable. Borrower ID, this is the variable. And book borrowed ID, this is the variable. So what should be the value of book borrowed ID? Maximum value of book borrowed ID plus 1. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So we should be getting the maximum ID from book borrowed table, and we should add 1 with it. So this is the value. So we have assigned the value 9 in this variable. Is it clear?
Hmm.
Now, if the book I'm trying to borrow, if the book is not present, so we need to validate that the book is present in our library or not. So select start from book details where book name equals to @book name. @book name means the input parameter we got from the librarian, right? So librarian will provide 2 values, name and borrower name. And we need to validate the book is present in the library or not. So select start from book name where book name equals to the input parameter book name. If the book is present, that's fine. If the book is not present, not exist, then we'll write book does not exist in the library. Okay. Again, we'll write book does not present in the library, and if it's present in the library, then we'll assign the book ID, respective book ID in the BID variable. If the book is not present, we'll raise an error that book doesn't exist in the library. If the book is present in the library, then we'll take the book ID from the table. So select book ID from book details where book name equals to book name, right? And we'll assign this book ID value in BID variable because we got the value of this. Now we need the value of this, right? So I need to get the book ID. Now after that, we need to validate the member or the borrower. Select start from borrower details where borrower name equals to borrower name. We need to validate that the borrower is actually a member of the library or not. If the borrower is not a member of this library, then we'll print not a member of the library. Okay. If the borrower is a member of the library, we'll take the borrower ID from borrower details table and we'll be assigning it to borrower ID variable. So we got this value, and this value, right? Now after that, we are going to insert the values in the book borrowed table. Borrowed ID will be taking from this variable. Book ID will be taking from this variable. Borrower ID will be taking from this variable. Borrowed on will be taking from current date. Due date will be adding 3 days with the current date and will be assigning the value to due date. Number of copies would be 1, return status would be no. So this is our logic. Now this is our query. Now to run this query, what we need to do? Exec procedure name. We need book name and borrower name, right? So let's see. We need book details and borrower details. So let's say I want to borrow this book and the borrower name is this. Okay, so let's execute. One row affected. That means one row got inserted in book borrow table. What is the row? Row number 9. Show you. Row number 9. Okay, so book borrowed ID is 9. What is the book ID? Biology basics. Biology basics is book ID 7. So 7. Amit. Amit. Borrower ID 6. Borrowed on this date. Due date. Current date 13 plus 3, 16. Number of copies 1. Return status no. Now let's say I want to borrow a book which doesn't exist. ABC. Book does not exist in the library. This is the book name ABC. Now let's say Syed is trying to borrow a book, but he is not a member of the library. Not a member of the library, right? Syed. So if it matches both the condition, then only it will add an entry in the table. So let's try to insert one more row. Let's say someone is trying to borrow physics basics, and who is trying to borrow this book? Let's say Radhika. Under affected. Let's see. So here is the book borrowed ID 10, 4 physics basics, 4 Radhika, and this is the rest of the details. So using this feature, we can add an entry in the book borrow table whenever someone is coming to borrow a new book. So this is the procedure, guys. You need to analyze this procedure. All right. In this procedure, we have used if condition. In this procedure, we have used variables. In this procedure, we have used not exist, right? In this procedure, we have used and operator. So everything is known to us. You guys need to analyze this logic and let me know in the next session.
Yeah, can you explain this again, whole procedure?
The whole query.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, whole query.
All right. So we are taking book name and borrower name as input, and we are declaring 3 variables: book borrower ID, book ID, and borrower ID. So these 3 variables will hold book borrower ID value, book ID value, and borrower ID value. So how we are generating the latest book borrower ID? by using max book borrower ID. Plus 1 will give us the book borrower ID that we need to use for our insert statement. So this value we are assigning to book borrower ID variable. Then we are checking if the book is available or not. Then we are checking if the member is available or not. If the book is not available, we are throwing an error. The book is not available. If it's available, in else part, we are capturing the book ID and we are assigning the value to book ID variable. In the same way, if the member is not available in the library, we are throwing an error. The member is not part of the library. If he is a part of the library, we are capturing the borrower ID and assigning it to borrower ID variable. And then we are performing the insert operation. So this is the logic.
Okay.
All right. So you guys need to do the practice. That's the whole idea. You need to analyze the query. If you guys have any questions, we have one more session left for any Q&A. Okay. So we'll be rounding up this training with Q&A, and you guys need to do the practice for the entire project and ask me as many questions as possible.
Okay. And Sayed, this side, I am facing problem while logging my Microsoft SQL. Actually, I have changed my name, username, and suddenly it was not opening.
If you have changed your computer, so you have changed
Yeah.
your computer name or username.
No, computer name. I just come change my computer name.
So you have changed your computer name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a problem now. So as you have changed your computer name, that's a system information got changed, right?
Yeah.
So you need to
It's
reinstall SQL.
So we will be getting this file what we have over here, now the whole Word file that you have created with the project details.
Mhm. Yeah, you'll be getting the Word file as well. So Syed, you need to reinstall SQL
once
because
again.
once SQL is installed, you you can do it. You can mm, change the registry in the. You can update the registry, but that is not a permanent fix. You'll be facing many different errors. Okay, so better
Uh,
to reinstall SQL because the SQL instance name is coming from the system name only, and now we have a conflict between the system name and instance name. That is why you are unable to log in.
so it means it will affect my that premium Oracle also. Means it will not open.
Oracle.
Yeah, that's I have Oracle SQL.
Yeah, that should impact your Oracle listener name as well. I
Oh
think
my.
so.
So
So
it means
because these are very critical information, you should not touch this information. So system name or server name or server IP, these information are very tightly bound with your uh, database services. So if you change this information, that would be a disaster.
actually I think that I should change my name, computer name. So I have changed my computer name, and when I was opening that Microsoft, that it was not opening.
No worries. This is a learning only, right? So if you have done it in the production, that would be costing your job. So better that
Hmm.
you have done it in your PC and learned the lesson, right?
But I don't have that Oracle password right now. The key, that password key. That should be
You need to
possible.
reinstall, no issues.
Okay.
All right. So thank you guys. And I think Sanchita will be communicating you guys about the last Q&A session. Okay. When the Q&A session would be conducted. So till that time, please practice all these things and we'll be having a wrap-up session, Q&A, interview session, mock interview session, Q&A, and the round-up session. in the next class. Thanks everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
night, sir.
Good night, sir.